Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2. Today I wanted to give you guys a quick build update on the best Spiritborn build in the game with some new information that has come to light. I want to show you guys exactly what you need to know in order to set it up. This is not going to be a full build video. I'm actually working on a perfected version of this build, and that will be posted hopefully in the next couple of days. My character is still a little bit far from perfectly min-maxed, but I wanted to make this video so you guys know how to slam this together, and so that you can start hitting for literally trillions of damage. In my very first run of using this setup, I hit for 10 trillion. I have a friend that hit for 20 trillion. I'm pretty sure, not pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure that if you have a actually perfect version of this setup, you're going to do 100 trillion damage, which is unbelievably insane. I'm pretty sure my current character could probably do top end maybe 17, 18 with a little bit of luck, but I wanted to get this video out there ASAP for you guys, so let's just get into it. Like I said, this is not going to be a full build video, but the build will be posted over on Mobalytics, so feel free to just check out the description, and I'll have a full build video posted pretty soon. Today I just want to go over the mechanics with you guys so you know how to set it up and explain everything that is going on currently. You guys have probably seen a video or two, or a little bit of information about Soulbrand and people using this item. Let me grab one real quick. The reason that people are using Soulbrand is because of the greater affix, or not greater affix, but the affix barrier generation. I want to explain 1, why barrier generation is good, 2, why Soulbrand is bad, and then 3, we'll go into multiple different bugs that are occurring simultaneously with this build, multiple of which, by the way, you can apply this to any Spiritborn build in the game. If you're using the evade build, like, you can apply all of these methodologies to any Spiritborn build to increase your damage by about 40-50x. I don't even know the numbers entirely. First bug is Viscous Shield, and one of the biggest ways that we are improving our damage. Viscous Shield is currently working unintentionally where it's giving you a ridiculous amount of damage. So the first way that this is bugged is where basically it is supposed to give you increased HP for each % of barrier that you have relative to your maximum life. So if you had 100% barrier, that would be giving you a 33% damage increase, which is about the same relative power compared to other legendary nodes. However, this is actually based on your base HP. Your base HP is extremely low. I don't know the exact value, but I would assume it's probably around 500-600 or something like that. Let me know down in the comments, I don't actually know. But let's say that it was 500, my maximum HP is going to be about 40 to 50 times what my base HP would be. And the amount of damage that I'm getting, because it scales off of my base HP, increasing my HP is actually going to give me more damage because it's going to give me more point of barrier that exceeds whatever my base would be. So each point that I have above 500 HP that counts as a barrier, actually each 12 points is about a 1% damage increase. So then that means that we want to have a barrier that is almost equivalent to whatever our max HP is, and then getting any more HP basically just counts as a damage multiplier. Hopefully that makes sense, but basically what this turns into is that you want a 100% barrier active all the time. Getting anything more than a 100% barrier does not increase your damage, and then you want to increase your life as much as possible, because the more life that you have, the more barrier you're getting in relation to whatever your base HP is. That's why Soulbrand is good, because if you pair it with the Quay rune, which gives you Earthen Bulwark, by default this gives you a 40% barrier or 45% barrier, and Soulbrand with barrier generation greater affix plus other barrier generation on your gear will make it to where you have a 100% barrier all the time. The reason that Soulbrand is actually bad though is that you do not need it in order to reach 100% barrier with Earthen Bulwark. Because Earthen Bulwark is a 45% barrier, you only need 122% barrier generation on your actual gear. Oh, I just did that completely wrong. Hold on. 0.45 times 2.22. This is the amount of barrier generation that you need to have a 100% barrier. It's only 122% barrier generation. That's very easy to obtain if you have Soulbrand on. But if you don't have Soulbrand, you can still obtain that. As you can see, I'm at 118%, and that's because you can temper on barrier generation onto pants, chest, gloves, and even boots if you wanted to. I currently don't even have it on my boots, and my my rolls here, this is 11.6 rather than 18. If this was just a max roll, boom, I would be at over 122%. And I would be getting a 100% barrier. And just to demonstrate that again, if I just attack a little bit, my Earthen Bulwark gives me 21,800 barrier, and my HP is 22,000, so I'm nearly maxed out there. Another reason Soulbrand is bad is that it does not have stats on it that we really care about other than max HP, which is still good. It is a decent defensive item, but we're able to use a normal chest piece instead with another thing that I'll talk about in a second, but I quickly want to just recap barrier generation and how you can get to 122%. Amethysts give you 12% per, so we have 4 on there, so that is going to be 48% barrier gen, and then we temper barrier gen onto chest, and if you full masterwork it goes up to 18%, so you get 18% there, 18% on your pants, and you could even do boots as well if you wanted to. I'd recommend doing boots until you can max out your Paragon board, because in Paragon you can get 9% here, and then you can get another 9% there, and then another 12%. So I would recommend, if you are early into the build, you want to probably dump these points out of here, and then just go down here, because this node is 12% by itself. And then if you have enough dexterity, it'll give you a ton, and then just temper on barrier generation on your boots there, rather than the vortex size, which is just utility. And you'll easily be at 122% barrier generation. The second thing that can be applied to any build, which is extremely strong, is that currently the redirected force aspect, this was supposed to be patched, but it wasn't. Basically, this gives you a multiplicative crit damage increase relative to how much your block chance is. You would think that this is capped at 100% block chance, but it actually isn't. So every point of block that you get above 100% is still going to scale this aspect, and it's very easy to scale up your block chance. First of all, Armored Hide gives you 100% block, your Capellique has 45% block on it, and then you pair this with the aspect Interdiction, where you get 10% block chance per resolve stack. As you can see on this pair of pants, I have +9 maximum resolve stacks, and this is a separate bug where when you masterwork resolve stack temper on your gear, it goes up by way more than it is supposed to. I'll show you the Masterwork planner real quick. So if we have a fully Masterwork pair of pants here, if my Masterworks land on the maximum resolve stacks, you can see it'll go from +4 to +6. That seems kind of normal. And then we'll go from +6 to +9, and then 9 goes to 13. It's very, very hard to land that, and I'm at a point where I've literally run out of raw hide because I literally have been re-rolling this chest probably 130 times now to try to get the Masterwork to land on the resolve stacks twice. But each resolve stack gives us 10% block. So each resolve stack is a 14% multiplicative damage increase via redirected force. And in theory, you could get 13 resolve stacks on your pants and another 13 resolve stacks on your chest. This also scales up your glyph called Colossal, wherever I have it, where you get 2% multiplicative increased damage for each stack of resolve that you have. It's also pretty good defensively. I don't even have the points in right now, but you could do Perseverance where you get 1.5% DR per stack of resolve, which is kind of a ridiculous amount of DR. The obvious problem here, and what people are going to have questions about, is we are no longer using Tyraels, and we are no longer using Tibaults Will. This is a separate thing, is that you actually don't need 275 resource in order to use Banished Lords plus Capellique. You only need 240 in tandem with some Vigor generation. If you have at least 240 maximum Vigor, which is very easy to obtain as long as you just have a Capellique with max resource greater affix, every time that you attack, you're going to get your full Vigor back. You do not actually need 275, and you do not need Tibaults Will. Not using Tibaults Will frees us up to use Interdiction so that we can have the block chance aspect, and then get those extra maximum resolve stacks. And then the reason that we don't use Tyraels is because, again, we want those resolve stacks and we want that barrier generation, and then we can slam on another aspect. The question then becomes, how can you solve your resistances? The thing with this build is that you are so unbelievably tanky with how much HP you have, you actually don't need to solve your resistances entirely. I planned it out in the planner here, which I'll show you. The poison resistance is not being counted via anti-venom in the planner here, but you would have maximum poison resistance through anti-venom, and then if you just slam on a Redamine Buzz, which gives you 10% all res, you would be resistance capped with the current setup that I have here. But in game, and I showed it in the gameplay when I did the Pit 120, I'm not actually resistance capped, and it kind of doesn't matter. There is a very easy way to do it, which would just be swapping the dexterity on my pants to resistance, or I could swap out this Banished Lord's talisman, or my skull here. I could swap the skull off my Banished Lords into a diamond, and then I could get more armor in form of armor on my pants. or swapping the dexterity on my chest into armor as well. You lose a little bit of damage that way, but it's very easy to armor cap yourself and resistance cap yourself if you wanted to. Another thing that you can do, which would just solve your resistance and armor literally immediately, is you could lose the aspect that I'm using, which is 30% increased damage to feared enemies. That's simply just extra damage conditionally, which you don't really need. It is nice to have that extra damage, but there is a Mystic Circle aspect that gives you 25% of your maximum life as barrier, and it also gives you armor. This would give you a lot of armor, and it also gives you barrier. You don't actually need the barrier generation there, but if you had additional barrier, then you could swap off of a barrier generation temper if you wanted to, or you could lose some of the barrier in Paragon board, which I have here, and then you could spec more into all resistance, which I am currently missing out on a decent amount of all res as well. Like I said though, the resistance isn't all that big of a deal, and the instance that you want to use is this one, which gives you 10% max all res, as well as 150 armor. You could still use Tyraels if you wanted to, and like putting that on will obviously res cap you, but like I said, you literally don't need to be res capped because you were just so unbelievably tanky anyways. Pretty much all that you need to know. Now I'm going to go into like a quick little FAQ and also just some general tips and things that I see people doing incorrectly with the build. I'll quickly do a recap for the things that I already mentioned. First off, you only need 122% barrier generation unless you decide to use the aspect, which gives you a 25% barrier, in which case you would get, I guess you'd only need like 80 or 90% barrier generation, but you do get more damage as a result of using this aspect. Second thing, you do not need a Tibaults will because you only need 240 vigor as opposed to 275 because it's actually factoring in the base cost of Quill Volley as well. So as long as you have a ring that's probably above 47%, and then you have a little bit of resource generation in the Paragon board, which will be linked down below, you will be getting all of your resource back every single time that you attack, as demonstrated here. Third thing, Soulbrand is bad because you can get the barrier generation otherwise, and you'd rather just use a normal chest piece. Fourth thing, maximum resolve stacks is bugged with the temper and masterworking, and you can get a ridiculous amount of additional damage via interdiction, giving you extra block chance, scaling up the aspect of redirected force here. My damage on target dummies is actually nerfed because I'm not getting blocked, so let's do this one here. I'll just demonstrate my damage real quick, I guess. So I'll let the enemies actually hit me here, and I'm doing 2.3, 1.4. Let's see if I can get two. I could probably get like at least a 5 or a 7 on the training dummy. 6. Pretty good. I don't know, if I sat here long enough, you could probably get it to hit really hard, but you want to have your Scourge all the way maxed out. 6. I'm an injured guy without my ult active. And you want to have your Ravager active all the time. You want all of your buffs active literally all the time. 7. I could probably hit for 10 on these guys if the stars aligned there. And when your armored hide is up, you'll also do more damage. Whatever, I'm not going to sit here and do this forever. That's just a quick little damage demonstration. Other things you want to know. Harlequin Crest is simply just not good. You could use it in the interim if you really wanted the additional armor and the max HP. It is okay for damage, but you lose quite a bit of damage not having Ebawaka, because Ebawaka gives you, it makes your skills count as Jaguar skills and Gorilla skills, which has multiple synergies in Paragon board, or sorry, in Paragon board and also in your normal skill tree. And this also just gives you a 90% damage multi. All stats is good, and movement speed is also good for Brilliance passive. So Harlequin Crest is simply just a nerf to your character for almost no reason. Pretty much the best way to increase your damage when it comes to Masterworks and greater affixes is getting max HP on a lot of your gear and pairing that with like some form of dexterity as well. That is just going to be crazy for your damage. Chance for core skills to hit twice, by the way, does not work on Capella K. Another thing is attack speed. I see a lot of people going for attack speed on their gloves and trying to get GA Banished Sword Talisman. Your attack speed, actually, you're not going to get faster than... I'll just show you guys the breakpoints right here. You're not going to reach the 11 frame breakpoint. It's almost impossible to do that with normal gear because of not having access to stuff in Cap 2. So you only need to get to 140.3% attack speed, and that's very easy to do because we're constantly at 12 stacks of ferocity. So we're getting 60% attack speed from ferocity, and then that means we only need to have 80.3% in bucket 1. I'd recommend getting 85.3 because you regularly lose 1 stack of ferocity. If you get to 85.3, then you'll be perfectly fine. And as you can see, I don't actually have any attack speed on my gloves here, and you can get to 85.3 pretty easily by just getting a lot of attack speed in your Paragon board here. I have almost all of it that I can get. And if you get attack speed on your Banished Lords, you probably want one singular Masterwork to land there so that you can get the 85.3. But otherwise, you just want to have 80.3 in your actual stat sheet here. All right, you only need 60.3 in your attack sheet because your Moonrise gives you 20% additional attack speed. I have an extra 10% here because by default, I always have 2 Ferocity stacks. So don't worry about attack speed on your Banished Lords. Try to just get the Masterwork on max HP and core skills. Gloves, you want like Dex, max HP, ranks 2, Quill Volley as well, and then make sure you're tempering overpower damage as well, because that is more damage than basic skill damage. Again, I will make an entire build video, and I will just have a link to the planner down below, so feel free to just reference that. Just know that you want to scale up your max HP as much as possible. That is pretty much it for this. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. When it comes to like other tips with actually playing the build, you kind of want to just spam your abilities, and one thing is that I'm probably going to leave the defensive points in the planner, but I took out all the defensive points and I just went for more damage because you really don't need the defense when you have as much HP as I have. And there's a ton of little min-maxy things you can do with the points in here. I'd probably recommend having 5 points into Armor Tide because the more often that it's active, the more damage that you'll get. Or not more damage, but you want to have this active 100% of the time because of the 100% block chance. Scourge is quite a lot of damage because you get additional damage against feared enemies using this aspect, and also gives you 50% damage against multiplicative damage against crowd-controlled enemies. So spamming Scourge on cooldown so that you always get that damage increase is quite nice. Yeah, that is pretty much it for tips for the build. Pretty easy to play with, and I'll just make a whole video about the build pretty soon where I'll go into a whole bunch of information. That was the 8 trillion right there. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice. My character, like, it's pretty min-max if you look at my gear, but it can be significantly better. Like, I can get way more resolve stacks. I'm missing a redirected force. My interdiction is only 10%, my Moonrise is only 80% rather than 100%, my glyphs are only level 90, I'm missing quite a lot of Paragon points, which would be a ton of additive damage, which would help me out, so, 9 trillion there. Yeah, so my character could probably do like 14, 15 trillion. One quick thing is I don't know how to get Rawhide. If you guys happen to know, please let me know, because I am suffering out here with like no Rawhide running around. It is tough. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.